Good morning and welcome again to the Haven Financial Group radio show. I'm Larry Kalvig, founder and CEO of the Haven Financial Group, on with Mitch Moss, one of our internal retirement specialists, and of course, Kim. Always good to be with you, talking about Social Security, what to do, what not to do, do something. A failure to plan is a plan to fail. We know that 100%. So just doing something, and if that's just getting together with to have a cup of coffee and a cookie, well, so be it. But I will tell you, you will leave here having learned something because people find it very insightful, and no, there's no cost to come visit with us, none whatsoever.
All right. Mitch Moss is with us. He is our guest. He's a retirement specialist with Haven. Mitch, we've had the opportunity here so far to talk about what I'm going to call a sort of normal Social Security issues. Typically, this is maybe a couple that are drawing and making decisions about when each of them are going to draw, situations like that. Let's talk about some of the specialties, some of the maybe situations that people run into that make their situation a little more unique. For example, let's talk about if someone passes away and the other spouse begins to draw their Social Security and how that works. And maybe, what happens when there's a divorce, these kinds of things. So let's talk through some of those.
Yeah, absolutely. And these questions come up, pretty much quite often because obviously life happens and, we want to make sure that we're prepared. And obviously it's just not looking at your Social Security or a husband and wife type Social Security. We want to make sure that those benefits continue on. So, I like real world experience because sometimes it kind of brings things home just a little bit more.
Sure.
So I had a woman, she had come out to one of our classes several years ago. And she had signed up for one of those one-on-one strategies. She came in and she wanted to give me a little bit of information right off the bat. She goes, Mitch, I lost my husband 6 months ago. I'm 65 years of age. I'm a hairdresser. I work out of my house, and I'm not above what we call the earnings limit because there is an earnings limit on Social Security that you can make before they start reducing your benefit. And she goes, I don't know what to do. He was the higher wage earner. Should I start collecting his? Should I start collecting mine? And, with the information that she had already given me, I said, you know what? I already knew what we were going to do, but I said, let's run the report. Let's see what the report said. The report said exactly what I thought it was going to say. It said for her to start her benefits now. She was below the earnings limit. We needed to get some income in. And who knows that when you lose somebody, is this the right time to start making major financial decisions? Absolutely not, right? We want to get the right information. Sure. The logical choice is take the higher benefit. But in her situation, we wanted to try to grow that widow benefit. So in about a year and a half, she started her benefit first, got the income coming into the house. Then in about a year and a half, we switched from her benefit over to the unreduced widow benefit, which was at her full retirement age. What that did is got her an extra $58 a month in her check for the rest of her life. Now, I know for some of our listeners, $58 is $58. But when you're on more of a fixed income, right, that's a tank of gas. It's a week's worth of groceries. If she would have taken his benefit first, she would have been out that $58 for the rest of her life. Now, that was the only thing that we actually helped her out with, but it was a big impact on her. We did the math on it, and it was somewhere over, $11,000, $12,000 over her lifetime. But if she would have done it the other way, she would have been out that. She would have just missed out on that situation, if you would.
So number one, good for you that you were able to help that woman and to bring those extra benefits to her. But number two, I think a lot of people who are listening, I'll bet they didn't even realize that you can draw your own until a certain point, and then you can draw the higher, even if that person is gone. I know I did not realize that. So you can change your benefits.
Absolutely. And it's a strategy we want to look at, quite often, because the example that I used was actually, it's $58, but I see where it's not hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more,
Sure.
Because we always want to be maxing out that higher benefit. Another example, I had a woman come in, she had lost her husband and she was going to start on that benefit. And they had done quite well. They had plenty of income. They had plenty of savings saved up, retirement funds, et cetera. So the strategy that we're going to use is we're going to use some of those benefits. We're going to take the lower benefit, which was hers early, even though it wasn't going to cover all of her needs for her monthly needs, but we were going to start taking some drawdown out of her IRAs and things of that nature. Then we were going to wait and grow his. And by growing his, we actually got that up probably almost $1,000 more a month, which then in turn lessened the drawdown on the IRAs for the rest of her life. So it's a position we start looking at prior to getting the max benefit out of Social Security, using some of your qualified funds first and letting that other benefit continue to grow.
Boy, and again, this is one of those things that people don't realize, or maybe they don't know how to put the strategy together unless they have a partner to do that. And certainly the folks at Haven Financial Group can partner with you. What happens in divorce situations? Is anyone entitled to Social Security benefits?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a benefit. So if you've been married for 10 years and divorced for at least 2 years, you may qualify for up to half of your ex-spouses. What that really means, it's not in addition to yours, it's up to half. So if your ex-spouse has a benefit of, say, $3,000 a month and your benefit is $1,000, you may qualify for an extra $500, right? Mm-hmm. Up to half, not in addition to. But you have to have been married for 10 years and divorced for 2. So now I know there's a lot of folks out there, and I actually had a client. She had been married twice over 10 years and divorced for 2 from both of those folks. I said, please pick the higher one. Right. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, a little bit of joke there, but again, we want to make sure that we're getting the right benefit that we can.
And what if your former spouse is remarried and you're not? Are you still entitled?
Absolutely, you are. You're still entitled to that. And again, if you're divorced and your ex-spouse passes away and you have not been remarried, you're still entitled to a full widow benefit. So you're not only getting half of the ex-spouses, but you're entitled to that full ex-spouse benefit if they happen to pass away.
And Kim, if you're dealing with divorce situation, and you think, well, does it affect my ex? You may want it to affect him or her negatively, but it does not. It has no effect whatsoever. And technically, for a married couple, we talk about strategies. There's over 700 different ways that you can actually take Social Security. Now, it's not that complicated, okay? Most of them are not relevant. We help simplify that process for folks. Meaning just keep it simple. And I'll give you another example, too. We had a lady in not long ago, and she came in thinking she qualified for an ex-spousal benefit. And it didn't take long in the conversation to figure out she did not qualify. But in the conversation, it came out that her ex was deceased. Now, she quickly pointed out she had nothing to do with him being deceased, nothing to do with it, but she qualified for the ex-survivor's benefit, which was better than what would have been the ex-spousal benefit. So you're saying, well, how do I know that if this is applicable to me? Social Security does not call you and say, why aren't you doing it this way? Why aren't you doing it this way? Did you know that this makes more sense? And listeners, how many of you have ever read the Social Security handbook? I bet not too many. How many of you know that Social Security doesn't always make sense? Similarly to the tax code doesn't always make sense. So how do you figure this out? Having conversations with somebody that deals with this all the time. And I'll tell you, I just read a study that 76% of advisors don't feel comfortable talking about our topic today, which is Social Security. Now, how could we be retirement specialists if we don't talk about the biggest income stream for retired Americans? And why are we comfortable? Because we're having this discussion in every single meeting. And if you're dealing with 20 or 30 or 40 or 50-year-olds, you're probably not talking about Social Security. And if you don't talk about something on a regular basis, you don't have the confidence or the wherewithal. We have longtime advisors that come in and go, we know nothing about Social Security, and that's fine, but it's our duty to help them in this area for sure.
Absolutely. By the way, I'm about to go on vacation. Maybe I'll get that handbook and read it on the beach. That sounds like some real great reading, right?
Boy, I can't imagine how much fun that'll be, Kim.
That's going to be a terrible vacation if that's the case. All right.
Well, if you sleeping.
Yeah, right. There you go. Now that's when I might need to read it. If any of this is ringing a bell with you, and I feel confident that there's many of you listening, and you're saying, wow, they are answering some of my questions, but I have more. You can call them at Haven Financial Group at 612-504-8400. 612-504-8400. You know, there's no question that is silly. Don't be embarrassed. Don't hold off because you think you should know it. Because again, as we have made very clear, most people don't read the handbook or for that matter, stay up on some of the changes that occur when it comes to Social Security. HavenFinancialGroup.com. You can also get more information there. So having said that, in our next segment, we're going to talk about some of the changes and the updates coming up here in 2025 when it comes to Social Security. Before we go to the break real quickly here, Mitch, let me ask you this. I ask this of Larry all the time. I'm going to ask you, is Social Security solvent?
Well, short answer is yes, right? Is Social Security going away? No, right? Are they going to make changes to Social Security? Absolutely, right? Are we going to like the changes? No, right? But they've been making changes since the inception of Social Security. For one instance, when Social Security first came out, the full retirement age was 65. Mm-hmm. Well, and then they changed it. Houston, we have a problem. Ida Mae Fuller was the first recipient of a Social Security check. She lived to 100 because life expectancy back in the day was 67 to 68 for males, right? They only thought they were going to pay 2 or 3 years. So they made changes. Right now it's 67, full retirement age for anybody born over 1960. Yep. Most logical choice. And again, this is just me thinking about it. They're probably going to extend the age out a little bit longer, right? For those folks that are nearing Social Security, it's not going to affect them. Is it going to affect me? I was born in 1973. Absolutely, right? But my full retirement age might go from 67 to 67 in 4 months. Is that going to be a major impact on it, right? So again, they are going to make some changes, and we just have to see what those will be coming down the pipeline.
All right. Mitch Moss is our guest. He is a retirement specialist with Haven Financial Group, and we're going to talk about some of those changes that are occurring in 2025. Update everybody on Social Security updates when we come back right here on the Haven Financial Group Radio Show.